When we think of good scenes in animation, we typically think of a big fight in one of the final episodes of a season. Like, oh, did you see his final killer move? The animation was amazing. But we rarely ever see that level of animation in any other episode. Now, obviously, this is because each studio has their own budgets they have to work around, and having pristine animation in every episode just isn't feasible. This is why fans are always so excited to see the detailed hand-drawn animation. It is just such a good treat for the eyes. The Owl House did something really unique recently in the episode Enchanting Gromfright. It gave us that pristine animation that you rarely see in a way never before seen. This scene was so good, it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. This scene was so good, I'm willing to call it my favorite scene in any show for 2020. Heck, this is probably the best scene I've seen in any show, period. But why does this scene score such high marks? Why was it made in the first place? To answer these questions, we're gonna have to ask ourselves, what makes a scene good in general? Is it the action? Is it the story, the animation, the meaning? The answer is yes. All of those play into making a good scene. They really play into making a good show in general. But the problem is most shows do not incorporate all of the necessary ingredients to make a marvelous scene. The thing I see most often is a big fight scene, and the budget gets increased for 1 minute of the final battle, which is great and quite frankly what a lot of people are happy with, but that is missing a lot of points to truly make it miraculous. A show is not just fighting, it is not just good animation, it has so many more layers than that. It is so hard to make a great scene, heck, a great story, just because of how much goes into making a story. Take it from somebody who's working with the community on one. Since working on our own story, I have realized just how much thought and effort goes into making something great, and I think that is a big reason as to why I have so much admiration for this scene from the Owl House. It was more than just your average fight scene. This scene had raw power, raw energy surging out of it, true emotions seeping out of it like sweat. And I know this is gonna sound cliche, but it was the power of true love blossoming, just like the cherry blossom tree that was created at the end of the dance. And while a cherry blossom's life may be short, it is the sign of renewal, proving that this episode was the true beginning of Amity's renewal. Now, having power is important, but just having power isn't enough. Goku had over 9,000, but that doesn't make every battle a masterpiece. You need more than just power. But sadly, most shows don't provide any more than that. The next step most shows take in making a good scene is the animation. On the big final fight scene, they increase the budget and make nice looking animation. In most American cartoons, a technique called tweening is used in conjunction with frame-by-frame animation. Tweening is when a computer automatically generates animation between 2 points. This is to make it easier for the animators not only with efficiency but also money. Frame by frame takes forever, and because of that it costs a lot of money. Some software has really good tweening, so animators have started using it more often. Sometimes it is more noticeable and other times not so much. Typically what we see with a high budget scene is mostly, if not all, frame by frame animation, and that is exactly what we got with the Grom dance. It is so fluid and easy to look at with the eyes. Everything just flows really nicely. You should be able to tell when a show switches to full frame-by-frame animation instantly, because if done right, it will look completely different. It is truly one of the most satisfying things to watch. By default, the Owl House already has really good animation, but it pales in comparison to the Grom dance. But the animation is not just everything. The design and lighting play a huge role in making a show look good, and if done wrong, can completely ruin an otherwise great scene. Not only did the Grom dance have fantastic animation, but the lighting was also incredible. The dance takes place at night, and the way that the moonlight shone down on the characters was truly breathtaking. Now, normally the Owl House has really good colors and design. It is one of the few shows to actually use extensive gradients instead of just two-tone colors. The big thing here though is the shadows. Typically the shadows are just two-tone, but you can physically see the difference when they start dancing. The shadows go from a two-tone to a gradient, which looks so good. This scene would not be the same with the basic shading seen throughout the show normally. And finally, the thing that sets this scene apart from all others is its meaning. This scene dives deeper than the basic "we are defeating the final villain" scene. Because while it is true that they are fighting in the dance, the fighting is not the true meaning behind the dance. Amity's biggest fear at that point was being rejected, and Luce took that and didn't laugh at Amity for having such a silly worst fear, but she was supportive of Amity and her ambitions of love. And without knowing it, Luce intensified Amity's love to a whole nother level. Ever since that moment, Amity blushes every single time she is remotely close to lose, which is the complete opposite of how she was at the beginning of the enchanting Grom Fright episode. At first, Amity was unsure of her feelings. They were there, but she was confused as to what exactly they were. But seeing how Luce put others above herself and tried to make Amity feel better made Amity's love for Luce go stronger, to the point to where it is comically painful how obvious her crush is. The meaning of this scene is not just Amity getting over her fear, it is not just defeating the villain, it is not just Amity's love growing stronger, it is Amity realizing that Luce accepts her, and that is so much bigger than defeating the villain just because he's a bad guy. All of these things put together come to make one of the best scenes in cartoon history, in my opinion of course, but that brings up the question, why exactly was the scene made to be so good? Sure, everyone loves a good scene, but it is typically done towards the end of a season, and the Grom Dance was only episode 16, plus the villain was a one-time villain that we will never see again. One answer could be that the show writers want to make a statement about supporting the LGBTQ community, which is always a good thing to do, and I'm very happy that they are, but I think it goes deeper than just that. Good scenes are typically important, and the main meaning behind this scene was Amity being renewed into a Luce crazy fangirl. But the truth behind this scene is that the show is more than just Luce learning magic. If it was truly just focused on magic, we would have had more episodes centered around Luce actually learning new spells. This show likes to have a balance between all things, which is exactly why the Grom Dance was so great. A huge part of any story is the relationships between characters, and not just the romantic relationships, but the friendships as well. I have learned over the past couple of years that I enjoy shows more for the relationships between the characters and not so much for anything else. A show can have a subpar plot but have amazing relationships and I would absolutely love it. So this might make me a bit biased for this scene because of that, but regardless, a story is not good if the characters are not good, and this show has realized that. As of right now, Luce and Amity are still friends, but with the Grom Dance it is obvious that it is not a matter of if, but when they will get together. It is sadly pretty standard for shows to save the romance towards the last few episodes of a series, but I think it would really enhance the show's relationships even further if we saw some early on romance between the two characters, which hopefully is the case, based on the complete masterpiece that is the Grom Dance.
And there you have it, folks, a happy ending for this year's Grom!